I'm sure you are all aware this evening that you can only vote for 9 candidates who have put their name forward for this role. There are 9 island-wide seats available. In alphabetical, well, shall I go down the line, actually, of the order that we've chosen this evening? We've drawn lots, so it's fair in terms of the order of seating. So we have Alan Brecken, Independent. Steve Luce, Independent. Martin Aliga, Independent. Lyndon Farnham, Independent. Elaine Miller, Independent. Carl Bush, Independent. We also have Bernard Place, Independent. Tom Binney, Independent. Mary Lahegara, Independent. And running from this side at the back, starting here, we have Guy DeFay, Independent. Sorry, I'm just making sure that I get all of this right. Sam Mezek, Reform Jersey. Helen Miles, Independent. We have Mark Boliat, Independent. Alan McLean, Independent. Ian Gorst, Independent. We have Alan Pavo, Independent, and also Kirsten Guthrie, Independent. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us. Okay, each time that we hold these, we make an agreement with candidates as to how they would like to proceed. So this evening, they have agreed that there will be 3 minutes of speeches. So we're going to start with a short speech from each of them, and then we'll go to a time of questions. So what we will do is we'll have 1:30 for the answers to those questions, and we're going to ask for 2 questions at a time. So I'll start on one side of the room for 2 questions, and then we'll come to the other side of the room for 2. If we have time, we will take 1 more, but that will probably take us to 9 o'clock this evening. We are being asked to prioritize parishioners, and we're also asking that you state your name and where you live before you ask your question this evening. I can remind you of this before we do it, and we're also asking that no candidates nor elected members ask any questions this evening. Thank you. Okay, well, we will get going. So we're going to ask each of the candidates to come up to the lectern here to deliver their 3-minute speech, and when we take questions, we'll do that seated. So, Alan Brecken, if you'd like to come up. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's up to you. You can use either.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I ask you through your papers to have a look for this? I'm going to refer to it in a moment or two. I was a deputy in this parish for 15 years, from 1993 to 2008, and then I was senator for 6 years after that. Firstly, I've got some good news and some bad news. The bad news is about an IT system for income tax that cost £20 million, and it failed. It's useless. The good news is it's in Guernsey. If you look at this document that I've referred to, the green piece shows the highlight in 2022 of over 218 million. And the pink shows this increase to 257 million, and the yellow highlights that, showing £38 million increase. This is for management consultants, computers and the like, and I don't think that's appropriate. And the blue shows that equates to £106,000 a day for the whole year. Okay, that could be, we could have each had £1,000 for that, and I don't think that's appropriate. But it was actually done. It's the result of ministerial government. And if you look on the back, you'll see who the ministers and the assistant ministers were, because somebody has to be accountable, but it appears that nobody is. And you should take that home and have a good read, because it's got some interesting statistics in there. While that money was being wasted, our people, some of whom paid into the system for 30 or 40 years, were having to pay again for consultations or for treatment, hips, knees, and other medical procedures. And if we look at the wait for a consultation, In 2024, it was 812, and in 2025, the latest figure is 1,307. That's an increase of nearly 500. And that, I don't believe, is appropriate in a fully functioning healthcare system. And when others are in pain or discomfort, they shouldn't be made to work like that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason I'm standing, because I believe money has been wasted, and I could be at home watching Coronation Street, but I think it's worth me offering that so that things can be done and money can be saved. Thank you.
Steve Luce.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When I first came into politics, Is that better? Yeah. Okay, apologies. Good evening. When I first came into politics in 2011, I used the words working together as my motto for my manifesto. And since that time, I've done my very best to work with everybody to get results. It's clear that in the next few years, the next session of government, we're going to have to work together like never before. We have a cost of living crisis now, but we know that things are going to become more expensive with fuel, particularly plastic products, fertilizer for crops, the price of food. We're going to have to work together to try how best to solve those issues. I'm running for senator because I've always supported the island-wide mandate. I think it's important that ministers have a senatorial mandate if possible. And I would very much like to continue the job I'm doing at the moment, which is Environment Minister. It's a position I know, it's a position I understand, it's a position I'm enthusiastic about, and one that I hugely enjoy performing. In the last couple of years, in my time in government, I brought some laws to the States Assembly successfully, rented dwelling licenses, I brought a new law on animal welfare, protecting animals, and started work on reducing PFAS in water. But in the next term of government, the Environment Minister will have to bring forward an island plan, and that is going to be a hugely important document for the island in the next 10, 15 years. We clearly need more nursing and retirement homes for the ageing population. We need to rezone land for light industry so we can help to diversify the economy and create more jobs. And of course, we're going to need to provide even more houses for our young families, and we're going to have to find a way to make them more affordable. It is possible, but we'll have to do it. Obviously, as Environment Minister, agriculture and fisheries is my big concern, and I want to keep brown cows in green fields. You've got some fantastic herds of cows in St Saviour's and some really good farmers. We need to keep them there, and one of the most successful things, the thing I'm most proud of in the last 3 years, was bringing a proposition to the States to put over £6 million every year into farming and fishing to keep those people profitable, keep those businesses going, but most importantly, keep our beaches, our seas, and our countryside green and beautiful. In the next 3 years, there's lots of other things that we're going to have to get on with, and I'll just list a very few. Infrastructure work needs to be done. It's not pretty, you don't see it, but our drains and our roads are in not good condition. We need to address social media issues for our children. We need to help people to downsize. It's hugely expensive to do that. We need to find ways around it. We need to embrace artificial intelligence. The train's running, and if we don't jump on it, we will get left behind. It can do wonders for our productivity here in Jersey. The last thing I want to say, I'll keep it for answers.
Martin Aliga.
Hello, everybody. Is it on? Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I want to focus on something very central to my heart today. It's the issue of poverty. And most of you might be aware right now, I come from a country that poverty is still a synonym to what you in Jersey might not really attribute to. But when I came to Jersey, having thought and learned from media and every way of communication in Uganda, the West is rich. I was so shocked that actually there are so many people in the Western world, not just Jersey, that live below poverty level. Not just poor, they live below poverty level. And that really, really shook me. And I wondered, what's happening? I've been here 15 years, and I can tell you that having worked with young people in the residential childcare department, I have seen people coming from vulnerable backgrounds. Some of the vulnerability caused through poverty of all sorts, not just financial resources. But one of them I want to focus on is poverty exerted on people because of the tax system. There are so many ways why and how people are poor, but one of it is officials and government officials, politicians, that seem to pay a blind eye to the way taxation is done, that doesn't care about the working class. I find the question about taxing needs to be revisited. And the revision of this can only happen with new personalities in that place called States of Assembly, the States Assembly. I put myself forward for this kind of pledge because I think I have had enough of the complaint. I have experienced it in Jersey. Personally, being a working class, that what I earn doesn't seem to take me to the end of the month. In a Western setting, you find the elderly are complaining of how they have worked all their lives and they are still being taxed. Their pensions are being taxed. This is not a humanitarian way to live a life in any society. Therefore, I ask all of you to consider me that I take this matter seriously in the next government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lyndon Farnham.
Thank you. Right, just checking. Right, is that better? Can you hear me? Good evening, St. Saviour. My name is Lyndon Farnham, and I have the honour to be Jersey's current Chief Minister. I was born here in Jersey. I've lived here all my life. I raised my family here. I'm standing for election because I care deeply about the kind of island we are shaping for future generations. This election is not just about politics. It is about the direction Jersey takes at a time of real change. Around the world, we are seeing economic instability, rising costs, conflict, growing pressure on living standards, and we feel those pressures here too. Since becoming Chief Minister in 2024, my focus has been clear: to restore stability across government, strengthen discipline in our public finances, and get government working together and getting things done. And that has meant also recognizing where we have fallen behind and putting ourselves firmly back on track. We have made some progress, but of course, there's always a lot more to do. After years of underinvestment, we have started investing in Jersey again, protecting capital budgets and taking planned responsible action to renewing our infrastructure. This means upgrading schools and healthcare facilities, improving our roads, extending mains and drains, strengthening coastal defences and investing in community spaces, sports and leisure facilities, parks and gardens and the wider public realm. My vision is clear. It is for a Jersey where young islanders can realistically aspire to own a home, raise their families here and choose to stay because they are confident about the future. A Jersey where the older community feels secure, supported, and are able to live independently with affordable care when it is needed. A Jersey where businesses can grow and compete without being weighed down by unnecessary bureaucracy and costs. But I'm also optimistic, very optimistic about Jersey's future, and I think we all need to be a little more positive from time to time, because we are a resilient island with enormous strength, a strong community of talented, hard-working people, a successful local economy, a clean and safe environment, a truly beautiful place to live. But in these challenging times, I believe Jersey needs leadership that is steady, experienced, and forward-looking, honest about the challenges, and takes responsibility to get things done. And I believe that our best years lie ahead of us if we have the confidence and determination to build them together. Thank you all very much for being here this evening. I hope I could earn one of your votes on the 7th of June. Thank you.
Thank you. Elaine Miller.
Hello, my name is Elaine Miller. I was first elected as a deputy in 2022. Since then, I've been Treasury Minister, Assistant Minister for External Relations, and Minister for Social Security. Before being elected, I had a successful career in law and financial services. I was a Jersey advocate and was the first woman to hold the office of Viscount. I tried to find practical solutions to problems and to make sensible and thoughtful decisions. I can get things done, and I've worked hard to deliver positive outcomes for the island. The things I'm most proud of are that I brought the proposition that returned the role of Senator to the Assembly. As Minister for Social Security, I reduced the cost of GP visits by £20 in 2023, and I increased pensioner benefits, and I've supported the important recent work to ensure that our financial services industry continues to succeed in an increasingly competitive market. We know that we have challenges to address, including the cost of living. One significant issue for parents is that they are often paying huge fees for childcare, which puts a mortgage for their own home out of reach. I'd like to find better ways of providing and funding childcare. We have to ensure that financial services continues to thrive, but we must also enable all businesses to succeed so that our economy grows. Those businesses are often very small, but they underpin our quality of life. I'll be aiming to reduce red tape and complex regulation which cause cost and stress for business owners. I'd look to promote new businesses by reducing social security contributions for startups and by trying to harness investment and mentorship from the private sector. It's important that we continue to control government spending by returning to a multi-year budget and removing internal inefficiency. This will help us put more money into reserves to provide resilience against future shocks. But in addressing today's challenges, we should avoid creating even more for our children's generation. I'd like a clear population strategy that addresses the needs of young and old into the future. We need to plan carefully for our school estate and future careers. We have to make sure we have a working age population that can sustain our economy and our public services, and we need to build for our older community so they can downsize to suitable accommodation and not a first-time buyer flat. Future health and long-term care provision have to be a priority, and our new hospital is just the start of that. It's important that we find solutions that work for Jersey now. I will continue working hard to deliver effective and fair outcomes that benefit our community and our economy. I believe in Jersey, and I will always put the interests of Jersey first. Thank you.
Thank you. Carl Bush.
Evening, everyone. I'm Carl Bush, and I'm standing for the dancing senator. If I didn't have this mic, I'd show you some moves, but there you go. Jersey is full of movers and shakers, and I mean that in the best way. We've got an absolute fantastic spread of talent, expertise, and skill. And that's what I want to focus on this evening. My I came to the island in 2018, and sometimes when you come from away, you see opportunity, and I see tremendous opportunity here in Jersey. I see tremendous opportunity in the skills and the talents that the local community hold. One of the problems that we've got, one of the major problems that we've got, is that 54% of our population fail to attain the adequate amount of activity per week, which is 150 minutes per person. We fall behind the UK by 10%. The UK has 64% attaining the minimum requirement for activity per week. So why is that? This is something that I've been looking at for the last 4 years. I've been running a community interest project that engages with the local community, and it empowers people that have these skills to share those skills with the rest of us. And on that model, through our project called Step 55, we will be providing this year an hour's worth of activity for 200 adults in the age 55 to 65 bracket. And if you Google the saving to the health budget from that project, it will equate to £200,000 per year. You can do this yourselves. Then with structure from government, if then we engaged with 2,000 people per week, then the saving would go to over 3 million. So I'll finish by saying I'm up against some stiff opposition here from fellow candidates, some already with experience of government, but I too come with experience. I held elected office in local government in the UK and held the post of cabinet member for the environmental services, a position that would be equivalent to a ministerial post here in Jersey. At that time, I was also a trustee for Unite Carers.
Thank you. Bernard Place.
Testing. Can you hear me now? Yeah. That's great, lovely, thank you. Well, good evening. Like many islanders, I'm concerned about the cost of living, pressure on housing, and whether public services are giving islanders the value they deserve. My name is Bernard Place, and after 40 years in public service, including many years as a registered nurse, I'm standing as an independent candidate for senator because I believe Jersey needs practical reform, not more promises. I've worked from the front line in intensive care to executive board level, and I've seen both the strengths of our public services and where they need reform. Housing, healthcare, ageing and the economy are now deeply interconnected challenges. If we want to improve living standards, we cannot keep simply asking islanders to pay more while expecting different results. Before asking taxpayers for more money, we should ask first whether services can be organised more effectively and whether more resources can reach the front line. Now, healthcare is especially important here. It's our largest public service, our largest employer, and one of the biggest pressures on public finances. But it's also one of the biggest opportunities for sensible reform. I know the difference between spending that supports doctors, nurses, and frontline care and spending that grows bureaucracy without improving services for patients. We should be redesigning our healthcare that supports patients and frontline care while making sure the new hospital delivers long-term value for islanders. Now, this election is also an opportunity to widen the experience and perspectives in the State's Assembly. Now, I respect those who already serve, but I also believe that there is value in bringing in people with practical experience of leading services and managing change. Now, many of you may have read some of my articles in the Jersey Evening Post, and the feedback I received from that was one of the key reasons why I decided to stand. Now, that feedback centred repeatedly on a single word, and it was the word sensible. Bernard, you write sensible things, you say sensible things. Now, at first, I wasn't sure about that, but I'll take sensible. I think sensible is good. Sensible is what Jersey needs, because after 40 years in public service, I've learned that the loudest answer is not always the best one. The best solutions are usually practical, measured, sensible, and that's the approach I hope to bring to the States Assembly as one of your 9 senators. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Binney.
Good evening. I hope you can hear me okay. Given that this is my home parish, I want to start by saying a big thank you to anyone that voted for me at the last election. It was very humbling to have the support that I had, and I really hope that I've done enough over the past 4 years to repay the trust that you put in me at that time. I'm very fortunate to have held a ministerial office throughout that time, initially in infrastructure and more recently as the political lead for health. I'm afraid our 3-minute limit doesn't give me anywhere near enough time to talk about the changes in health, and some of them don't seem to be appreciated, I think, that have already been made, and all the changes that we've got in the pipeline. So if anybody is minded to find out more about that, I'm happy to stay behind afterwards or to make an appointment to see you separately. Whilst all the work at health needs to continue at pace, the past 4 years has taught me a great deal about the wider island-wide issues that we face and the urgent need to address them. I was lucky to go into the States with a fair amount of commercial experience, and that certainly served me well in recognising what needs to be done and, broadly speaking, how to go about it. I'll move on now to list a few of the most important things that have to be addressed urgently, as in my view, time is not on our side. Firstly, we need a complete culture change, that's political and civil service, to one that's focused on efficiency and wealth creation. And in my view, everything flows from that. We need to implement the recommendations of the recent competitive review of the finance sector, providing all the resources that needs. We need to review all government functions, eliminate anything non-essential, and adjust the workforce accordingly. Revitalise our town centre, strengthen our links with Europe, loosen our planning laws a lot, involve businesses in developing our future, and create more sports facilities, especially for young people. As crazy as it might seem in these difficult times, I believe that we need to have the courage to invest in some of our reserves in creating a new future for the island. And finally, we have to be straight with you about what we're doing, about what we're not doing, and explain why. I'm standing for a second term because I'd like to be directly involved in making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Lahegara. Apologies. Do you want me to go to Guy?
No, I'm happy. Are you happy, Guy? Yep. No,
Is that
let's
okay,
just go.
everyone?
No,
Apologies.
that's
Mary, thank you.
fine. Okay, how does this start? You just need to push the button upwards. Hello? Yeah. Ah, perfect. Good evening. Born and raised in Jersey to a farming family, my career path has been various financial roles, moving to 25 years in policing with a cross-section of roles, ranks, responsibilities, leading teams of various sizes, being the first female inspector in Jersey. I joined the States Assembly in 2018, working in scrutiny, including Health and Social Security Scrutiny Panel, Chair, delivering a mental health review which secured funding for a crisis bed at Orchard House. A member of the Planning Committee, Public Accounts Committee, and various other duties. The last 2 years, I have been serving as the Justice and Home Affairs Minister. I believe that team working is one of my strengths. In my policing career, working in partnership with public and other agencies, I led teams to deliver results in matters ranging from community initiatives to commanding critical incidents such as public order events, serious road traffic collisions and suspicious deaths. I have employed this collaborative approach in my political roles, both in scrutiny and as a minister, working with teams to improve public services and advancing legislative reforms. Cost of living is clearly an issue for many islanders, and we need to address this in the short term. However, my feeling is that we need to consider longer-term resilience rather than short-term fixes. Brexit, the pandemic, and global uncertainty clearly require a holistic approach. Whilst the finance industry provides a huge amount of our revenue and needs to be supported, we need to be more self-efficient. Appreciating that we can't fully provide all our needs, I believe that we need to take a good look at what we could achieve. As an example, we should provide and support for industries to produce more or retain more of our produce on island. This would also reduce the environmental impact of plastics and transport. Support and encourage on-island skilling programs and continual development using further and higher education is necessary so we can actually promote on-island talent. This may encourage islanders to return following study overseas. Lots of people try to come back to the island and we say no. Someone who we think lacks experience, but we should be saying yes, come back and we will help to develop you further. Jersey's infrastructure has suffered from long-term underinvestment, making deferred maintenance costlier and hindering growth. We should pursue a strategic value-for-money approach that protects taxpayers while keeping Jersey modern, competitive and well-connected. Someone has already mentioned the drains. We have a number of...
Thank you. Guy DeFay.
Can you hear me? Yes, you can. Hi, I'm Guy, and I'll start with an apology to people sitting at the front for my appearance. I have unfortunately broken my dentures, and this may be a little discomforting for some of you who can have a closer look. I just simply say, please don't mind the gap. Anyway, to be topical on the local news this morning, I heard that Jersey Water are interested in getting extra supplies in case we had a drought and are looking at using what they described as treated water from Belazan. Now, I hope I don't have to spell this out in too much detail because I can imagine we all have a reasonable idea of what constitutes treated water. It's what, as a minister in my department used to call foul water. I don't know what the treatment's likely to be, and I am very familiar with all sorts of stories about untreated water and chemicals and medicines getting into the water supply or the sea or rivers, and fish having serious reproductive issues or even changing sex. Now, I want to give you a promise. If elected, I can call on all people who are interested in having decent water to drink to oppose this particular scheme. I will oppose it because I absolutely firmly believe the way forward is actually a desalination plant. Yeah, we'll have to have two. We have one already. It works and it produces water. Maybe more expensive, but just think about what you're drinking. Seawater with no salt in it, as opposed to goodness knows what. Now, things miraculously changed just before elections. I was interested to hear last night that there are now over 9,000 public servants. So when you add on partners and young children who are old enough to vote, that's a voting base of about 20,000 votes. So I thought, gosh, how fortunate that only a few weeks ago public servants were told that their pension contributions would be reduced by 1%. Coincidental? I think so. But I'd like to put a word in for the senior citizens in our community. The less well off, because when cost of living goes up, it's the less well off get hit hardest, and those on reduced incomes who don't have an opportunity necessary to get promotion at their job. No, they're on a fixed income. We don't have enough care homes in Jersey. Respite care is expensive and cannot always be extended to people who really need it. And those nice people who come round, we hope they'll keep going.
Thank you. Sam Mezek.
Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you for giving up your Friday evening for this event. My name is Sam Mezek. I was brought up in St Saviour. I went to St Saviour's Primary School and then Grainville. And for the last 12 years, I've served as a States member, both as a deputy and a senator. In particular, in the last 2 years, I've served as the Minister for Housing. And I'm running for election because I want to play my part in helping to lead the next government down a path where it can give back confidence to islanders that Jersey can once again be a place of hope and opportunity. Previous generations in Jersey got to experience a place that felt like it was on the up, where if you worked hard, you'd be able to afford a home, raise a family in comfort, and live a happy life. We had good public services and strong public finances. But for the last 2 decades, Jersey hasn't really felt that way. The economy has stagnated, real terms earnings have been frozen, government spending has become unsustainable, and worst of all, many young people feel that Jersey doesn't offer that place of opportunity anymore, and so are looking to other places to make their lives instead. And I liken this to being like the tide, where the tide comes in and out. In previous decades, the tide was rising, but recently it has been receding. And I think the job of the next government must be to turn the tide and move Jersey from managed decline into renewal. And I believe that this can happen, but only with a united government that represents the diversity of the island and is prepared to make tough decisions with purpose. I think its priorities have to be to address the cost of living, prepare Jersey for the challenges of the future, and restore accountability to government. In the last 2 years, I've been proud to play my part alongside Reform Jersey colleagues to start turning things around. The outgoing government, after just 2 years, leaves office having introduced 15 hours of free childcare for 2 to 3-year-olds. It's expanded health benefits to 1,300 more pensioners, and we've pioneered a new first-time buyer scheme. And last year, the government saved £45 million by cutting back on consultants, temporary contracts, and recruiting to unnecessary roles. If we're to turn the tide, we need to build on all of that and get our economy back on track too, so that it can generate the prosperity for us all to enjoy. If you want a candidate who's an effective politician, a decisive minister, and a capable leader of a team in the States that is constructive and unified, I hope you'll consider voting for me, Sam Mezek, on the 7th of June. And if you're a St Saviour resident, I also hope you'll consider voting for Deputy Raluca Kovac, who's been an invaluable member of that team. And it's only by working together that we will turn the tide. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Helen Miles.
Thank you. This one, can you hear me? Good evening. I'm Helen Miles, and I'm an independent candidate for Senator. I'm delighted to be here in Highlands College, where I've taught local students on the joint social science degree, law degrees, and the social work courses. As we know, Highlands plays a vital role developing our young people, providing us with the skills we need throughout our lives, and supporting our local economy. My background is in criminal justice. I have a PhD in criminology, and I've had a 30-year career working for Customs and Immigration, the Probation and Aftercare Service, and the States of Jersey Police. I was also a founding member of Autism Jersey, and I continue to raise vital funds for that charity. Currently, I'm Deputy of St Brelard. I've previously served as Minister for Justice and Home Affairs, and I'm now Chair of the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel. So this has given me a balanced perspective of serving both in government and on scrutiny. As Home Affairs Minister, I established the Violence Against Women and Girls Task Force and delivered the Building a Safer Community framework to support early intervention and reduce crime. I also introduced a 3-year work permit to support the hospitality industry, and I also negotiated a scheme to increase the number of French day trippers to boost our tourism sector. On scrutiny, I led a review which made recommendations to strengthen our vital parish system. I cherish Jersey's traditions, and to protect and maintain them, we must continue to adapt, evolve, and move forward. I'm standing as Senator so that I can use my experience, working together with colleagues, to help address our many challenges. We need to support lower income and hard-pressed families with the cost of living. We need to keep on-island inflation, which includes government-set charges, as low as possible. And we must control state spending and live within our means. Crucially, we need to grow our economy, increase our competitiveness, and ensure young islanders have hope of an affordable future in Jersey. A successful economy depends on an educated and skilled workforce. As a former Holier student, I support Jersey's current education model. We must, though, increase the range of educational programs we offer so we equip our young people with the skills they need to adapt to a changing job market. We need a higher education strategy built around our local excellence, providing greater assistance with university living costs and encouraging young graduates to return to Jersey. We live in a wonderful island, and with positive change, we can be optimistic about our future. Please do consider me for one of your votes on the 7th of June. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Boliat.
Good evening. Mark Boliat. My life story in 2 sentences. I was born and educated in Jersey, including at St. Luke's School. My career has taken me from a cafe in St. Ballard's to being a well-qualified barman at the Smugglers Inn at Waynay, to some chief executive and chair positions in business, in charities, in government and the public sector, in Jersey and in Britain. Does this experience mean that I think I know all the answers? Certainly not, and far from it. But I think I know how to ask the right questions, how to work with others in tackling big issues, in making good decisions, and as importantly, in being able to implement them. So what's my vision for the island? I want Jersey to be what it's always been, a very special, if not unique and distinct community that's been outward looking. The people of Jersey over many centuries have developed a succession of highly successful industries selling goods and services to the rest of the world, from knitting, cider, cod fishing, shipping, cattle, potatoes, tourism, and now financial services. So what are my policies? The public finances are under some strain, and many people's finances are equally under strain. We do not want to increase taxation. So we have to grow the economy. That is the way to make people better off in the longer term. So we must remove the obstacles to economic growth. And the obstacles are largely government-made. I regard the planning system as the biggest obstacle to economic growth, stopping businesses and people doing what they rightly should be able to do. And we can make radical reforms without affecting our beautiful environment. And on regulation generally, the Chief Minister has said we regulate like a big country. And we're not a big country. We need to stop regulating like a big country and regulate in a proportionate and sensible way. And we must never forget that the finance industry accounts for 45% of our economy and 2/3 of our tax revenue. And now my special interest, social mobility. Life chances are largely determined by the age of 5. 2/3 of Jersey children are at the expected stage of development when they start school, so 1/3 are not. Some good work's been done on early years. We need to do much more to give our young people the best start in life and to ease the pressures on families struggling to meet housing costs, childcare costs, and the cost of living generally. Jersey is a very special place. I want to keep it that way. I want to work with others to produce the government of Jersey
Thank you,
that
Mark.
the people
That's
deserve.
time. Thank you. Alan McLean.
I think so. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I was first elected as deputy in 2005, then as senator in 2008, and again in 2014. I served as economic development minister from 2008, the start of the global financial crisis, which of course was fantastic timing, and later as treasury minister from 2014 to 2018. After retiring from politics in 2018, I focused on my then young family, my business, and serving on several boards, including Genuine Jersey, which I'm sure is familiar to many of you. I did not expect to return to politics, but like many islanders, I have become increasingly concerned about the direction of Jersey is heading in. People are working hard, yet too many feel they are falling behind. The weekly shop costs more, housing costs more, energy costs more. Too many islanders are beginning to wonder whether Jersey they worked hard to build is slowly becoming unaffordable for their children and grandchildren. At the same time, government continues to grow larger, more expensive, and more bureaucratic. Ladies and gentlemen, Jersey is at a crossroads. There is no magic money tree. If government consistently spends beyond its means, islanders eventually pay the price through higher taxes, rising debt, and a higher cost of living. Last year alone, government spent £118 million more than it earned. That cannot continue indefinitely. We must restore financial discipline, control spending, and focus government on what really matters: strong public services, value for money, and a growing economy. I have experience supporting economic growth. As Economic Development Minister, we established Digital Jersey and Jersey Business to support growth and diversification, improved connectivity, including the EasyJet service and the Heathrow link, and supported new opportunities in tourism, technology, and local enterprise. As Treasury Minister, I made sure public services were tightly controlled and budgets were balanced over a 4-year cycle. We need that discipline again, but we also need modernization and reform. We should use technology to speed up planning decisions, like Singapore, for example. We need to reduce delays and cut unnecessary bureaucracy. We must create an environment where businesses have the confidence to invest, grow, and create jobs. My priority is simple: a more affordable, more competitive, and more confident Jersey living within its means. I want Jersey to once again be a place where hard work is rewarded, enterprise is encouraged, and the elderly and the young can realistically enjoy life in the island. Tonight, I ask you to consider lending me one of your 9 votes on June the 7th. My name is Alan McLean. Thank you.
Thank you. Ian Gorst.
Good evening. I'm Ian Gorst, an independent candidate. I'm pleased to be at Highlands College this evening, which not only reminds us of the importance of on-island skills training, development, apprenticeship, and lifelong learning, but emphasises the need for that provision to be provided long-term on a modern, fit-for-purpose campus. This will ensure that Highlands can continue to support islanders and our economy for decades to come. This election marks the welcome return of senators, and I am standing so that I can continue to be a strong voice for Jersey over the next 4 years, representing our interests promoting our economy and building a sustainable future for our community. These are challenging times, and they call for experienced, calm, and serious leadership. As Minister for External Relations with responsibility for financial services, I have built strong relationships with governments in the UK, Europe, and further afield. This has enabled me to support our financial services, agriculture, dairy, digital, and creative industries to grow and find new markets. I also want to drive forward our competitiveness strategy so that we deliver economic growth, embrace innovation, and improve our productivity in the face of increased global competition. A strong economy supports local jobs and pays for good public services. In recent years, government has grown at an unsustainable rate. Throughout that time, I have been, and I will continue to be, a voice for restraint to control public spending. The public sector is made up of many talented and committed islanders, and they must be empowered to deliver efficiencies, cut bureaucracy, and deliver better services. Government needs to be an enabler, interfering less frequently in our lives and focusing on improving frontline services, including health, education, and policing. At a time of global instability, we of course face challenges. And to ease cost of living pressures, I would freeze duties, raise tax thresholds, and increase allowances, as I did when I was Treasury Minister. And we should continue to promote consumer choice, including by finally delivering a new budget supermarket. As a father of 2 daughters, I am aware of the challenges facing our young people. Jersey has always adapted to changing times. With strong, effective, and proven leadership, we will do so again. I ask for one of your votes on June the 7th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Alan Lepavu.
Good evening, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to apply for one of the roles as Senator. My name is Alan Lepavu, and I'm standing because Jersey needs practical, community-focused leadership at a time when many islanders are under real pressure. I'm proud to be what I call a Jersey mongrel, with deep roots and a family story that reflects the mix of people who make the island what it is. This isn't just where I live, it's home. Through my work with Camp Bode, young people, families, and community organisations, I've seen both the strength of our island and the strain many are under. Too many people are struggling with the cost of living. Too many families feel locked out of housing. And too many young people are questioning whether their future is here at all. That's not sustainable, and it needs urgent, practical action. My focus is on 3 areas. First, the cost of living, looking at support systems and practical ideas like strengthening supply chains, including exploring more direct links with France. Second, young people and families, because if we lose them, we lose Jersey's future. That means improving access to housing and creating real options for the older generation to downsize without leaving their communities. Provide opportunities for young people to develop their skills, knowledge, and experience while opening new employment opportunities. And third, responsible financial management. In short, this means earning more or spending less. I'm not a career politician, and I'm not driven by ideology. I believe in listening, working collaboratively, and focusing on what works. I also believe Jersey works best when 3 parts move together. A strong economy driven by commerce, an effective, focused government that provides policies and legislation that improves the lives of our people, and a supported charity and community sector, properly funded where it delivers essential services. You won't always agree with every decision I make, but you will know it's thoughtful, balanced, and rooted in what's best for our community now and into the future. If elected, I will work hard, stay accessible, and focus on outcomes, not headlines. I'd be grateful for your support, but above all, please use your vote for a better Jersey built together. Thank you.
Thank you. Serena Kirsten Guthrie.
Lucky last for me, hey? Right. Good evening, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here, and thank you for coming out on what has been quite a hot, nice, and sunny day. My name is Serena Kirsten, better known as Serena Guthrie, and for those of you who aren't aware who I am best known as the ex-England netball captain and Commonwealth Games gold medalist. And I'm standing here tonight because, quite simply, Jersey isn't performing as well as it should be. And after 16 years in elite sport, I have a clear understanding that when performance wavers, you change the culture, cut to the core of the issue, and you build a team that can deliver. This is why I'm standing for senator. I've spent my career in environments where accountability is non-negotiable, results matter, and teamwork is the difference between winning and losing. I'm also a mother of two, and like many of you in the room, at the minute, I'm feeling the serious pressure that young people are under. I've considered whether staying here is sustainable, and I've had a lot of friends leave quite simply because they just don't really feel like they have any choice. And I've also got friends who can't come back because they don't simply know how. This is not acceptable. As you've heard, cost of living is a huge challenge. Housing is a constant concern. Government is wasting money, and we're not bringing in enough. We cannot afford more of the same. Every election, hundreds of promises are made to the taxpayer, but not enough are delivered. We need to work as a team, and candidates need to pull together in the same direction if we are to succeed. Less talk, more action. This is why I will support priorities such as more cheaper choices, like cheaper supermarkets, cheaper loans, a more affordable taxi system. We need to cut government waste, and we need to ensure that we are rebooting the local economy. We have to find ways to make everyday living affordable with things like cheaper supermarkets and cheaper providers to actually put more money back in people's pockets, increase competition, and give everybody more choice. We need to fix how government works, increase efficiency, cut waste, and follow through on decisions properly. And we need to better support modern families like myself with affordable childcare and policies that reflect everyday life. Jersey doesn't lack good people. It lacks a clear plan and alignment and execution. These are the types of things that I'm going to bring to public service. We've got the talent and we've got the potential. You're in charge of picking a team of people to take responsibility and deliver. I'll bring that mindset. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of the candidates. Thank you. And we're going to go for a time of questions. We have a very keen audience. Give me a moment. I just need to set out the rules again, and then we'll be straight with you. Okay, so the microphone's going to be passed around by Lisa. We ask that as soon as you have asked your question, you do pass it straight back to her, please. We ask that questions are brief and that they are questions, not statements. I may ask you to shorten your answer if you don't get to the point. Questions must not be offensive, please, in any way, and you may be asked to stop talking or leave the room if they are. A reminder that we will take questions from parishioners, please, first, so residents of the parish are priority, and we will not take questions from candidates nor the current elected members. Your questions as well have to be relevant to all 17 candidates. So please avoid asking one candidate, for example, about their track record in the States, because there are people who are standing for the first time. And a reminder to please state your name and also where you live before you start. Okay, I will take one question from each person. I will start on this side of the room. This gentleman was first with the red shorts. So if we could go to him first of all, and we will have 1:30 for answers.
Can you hear me? My question is food banks My name's Dave Crocker and I live just around the corner at Jardin-Pommier, St Saviour's. So my question is about food banks. I work at the cutting edge of poverty in Jersey, and I see there's lots of experience and business people on the stage. But what do you actually know about food banks, and how would you create a system that negates the need for it? Bearing in mind we're an international finance centre which is being supported by charities and food banks. So some of you have been in office for a few years, some decades, some of you are returning. So you know this is an ongoing issue, but you've all failed so far to deal with the unnecessary need for food banks. Now, most people think it's diabolical that we actually need, we've got 1,200 families accessing food banks a week in Jersey. So what have you got in mind to eradicate the need for food banks?
Okay, so we're asking candidates about food banks. Thank you very much. And we'll take one more question from that side, the gentleman over there. Thank you very much. We're taking 2 questions at a time and 1 minute 30 for answers.
Hello. I'm Stephen Coleman. I live in Palace Close. I live there with my 7-year-old son. And I personally have always loved Jersey. But if I'm honest, I'll struggle to give any reason to my son as to why to stay here. It feels increasingly limited, expensive, and uninspiring for young people. So my question is, what are you going to do to make the next generation actually want to stay in Jersey?
Thank you for your question. Thank you. If we all start with Steve Luce, because you started first on the speeches. So Steve, are you happy to begin? And I will start the clock. I will ring the bell at 30 seconds to go, and twice again when it's time to finish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your questions. Difficult, challenging questions, and hard to answer. Food banks, yes, I absolutely accept they're not good. They're not acceptable in our society. We shouldn't have the need for them, but unfortunately we do. There are ways we can do them. Certainly, from an environmental perspective, I want to encourage farmers in the next, and fishermen for that matter, in the next 4 years of government to grow more food, catch more food and sell it locally. Got some initiatives we're working on that at the moment, and there's no reason why we can't do a lot more. It does good from all sorts of reasons, not only, but we do need to create more food on island for local people. We need to look at the rules about best before dates. Certainly we see waste food going into bins, which are perfectly good enough to eat, and that's something that could be looked at. I'm sure most supermarkets are very generous, and they would be if they were allowed to be. As for keeping children on island, it's not easy. Things are very expensive, but I've already said that I think one of the ways we try to encourage people to come back to an island after a university degree is to have a contract with them that says if you do a degree that we really want you to come back to the island with, a nursing degree, a doctor's degree, a qualification in engineering or something which can be really useful to us, we will pay the whole of your university fees.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. You could pass the mic along, yes. Thank you to Martin.
The issue to do with food banks, I think the best way to solve the problem is what I talked about. I said we have a poverty problem, and the poverty problem is the reason why people are actually unable to afford even buying food on their table. So some of the people that are getting these food banks are actually people who are working every day, working to keep the island afloat, but they are being overtaxed. There's overtaxation, and if only the government can appreciate that we are harming people financially through taxation, then there's just no way we are going to come out of that problem. And there are other things like people want to start businesses. There's overregulation. There's no way someone can start. I actually talked to a lady this afternoon who told me she wants to start a restaurant, but she's already paid £2,000 just to pay for things, forms, pay for different services in order to start a business. that kind of way of living makes it very difficult for us to go above food banks. And the issue to do with young people leaving Jersey, one of the things I think I noticed that we do not actually know how the other worlds live. People are leaving Jersey. Sorry.
Thank you. Do you mind if I stand up? I'm just bit old school. Thanks for the question. One of the first things I did when I became Chief Minister is visited a number of food banks to understand how they worked, why we needed them, why their use was expanding. And I was really surprised to learn that the people who were using food banks were not necessarily the people you might think needed them. We've tried to work more closely on understanding the policy, understanding what they need, not just to help us help them to keep the supply going, but how we can gradually, over a period of time, reduce their need. I don't have any answers this evening. I commit to following up that work if I get re-elected. Stephen, as a father of 2 and a grandfather of 3, I share the same concerns sometime, which is why I think we need to focus on the 3 key things that young people need. Affordable housing, housing they can aspire to own. Jobs, we have a good economy. Fortunately, we have no shortage of jobs, but we need to work more on skills jobs where islanders can earn enough money to have a good, decent quality of life. And thirdly, there's a lack of things for young people to do. We started addressing that with skate parks. We've got more skate parks on the way, and at long last, we're going to invest money into Fort Regent. I know that's not popular with everyone, but it certainly is with young people. The cost of not doing Fort Regent is still going to be tens of millions, and I think there's great potential there. So it's housing, good jobs, and things for young people to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll stand up as well, just so you can see me. On the subject of food banks, I agree with Lyndon. When I was Minister for Social Security, I've met all 3. There are 3 in the island, and I've met all 3 of them. And one of the problems that we have is understanding the size and the shape of the problem. You mentioned 1,200 families every week. I'm not sure where that figure comes from. One of the food bank, one of the people who run the food bank, one of them I spoke to a couple of months ago, he said they were supporting about 500 people. Now, of that 500, that's not people coming every week. It's people coming on an occasional basis. They have a crisis. They come once and they don't see them again for months and months and months or ever. I see the queues outside the Salvation Army. That's a pay that you pay a sum of money for a much greater value of food. As someone who's been Minister for Social Security, I find it really depressing and distressing with the support that we have available that we are not people are falling through the cracks. But we need to understand we really need the food banks to help us by giving us the data about who's using food banks, why they're using it, where the gaps are, so that we can start addressing those. And they've struggled. They have really struggled to give us that information. Patrick Lynch at Caritas said the other night 600 people. Not sure whether that's families. It could be pensioners. It could be single men who fall out of every list. Sorry.
Oh, go on. I'll carry on the tradition of standing up. Right. I think the best way to deal with this is through what we've done as a community interest project. We run a social enterprise for the last 4 years, and that structure empowers the community. The community have a lot of answers. Well, they actually have all the answers to these 2 problems. So what I would do is I would get the structure in place in government to empower yourselves to have a responsibility and a budget to solve the problem that you best know. So empowering you, we'd have the structure, we could get social investment. It's an absolute scandal that we all live in one of the richest societies in the world, and this evening we're talking about food banks. Hello? That structure can also help you with your concerns for your son. we could give young people the opportunity to have a go at innovative projects and just have a go. £2,000 to have a go. Fails, you've had the experience, you can then go off and get a career elsewhere, come back. But some of those people will do well from that.
I did give you a few extra seconds there. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. If there's an issue with that mic, I've got another one here.
Is it working? Yeah, so poverty causes the need for food banks. It's very, very straightforward. And so to get rid of the need for food banks, we need to make progress on addressing poverty. So how do you do that? Well, you can do that in the longer term by keeping as much of the Jersey economy, Jersey spend, especially from government, on island. So I'm going to say something I know is probably going to be very unpopular in this room at the moment. If you have a little on the island, then most of that money will be repatriated to Germany. It won't stay on the island. And so paradoxically, it'll cause more harm than benefit. You have short-term measures, and we've just agreed that apparently that a £20 million dividend from JT is a nice to have rather than a requirement. So we could begin to recycle, for example, those dividends. We could begin to recycle the windfall tax revenue from GST and fuel tax to give short-term measures. And we could do things that they do in a very conservative place like Singapore, where they have an equivalent of our spend local a scheme that you're familiar with following COVID, because that generates further resources in their community. It's not an ideal solution. It's time limited. It's for... Thank you.
It looks like we're standing up. To address the first part of your question, you said, I think you said, what experience have we got, or what contact have we got with food banks? Well, 6 years ago, I established a charity to help people with serious mental illness, as it happens, and a lot of those people that we're still helping are using food banks. So I witness the misery quite often of people that are in that situation. In terms of how to address it, I would look at the bigger picture. I'd refer to what I said in my speech about making what we do more efficient and investing some of the money that we've got sitting on one side in making the island a better place to be, and investing in the sort of thing that avoids that situation. And in answer to the second question, I would refer to that as well. In terms of the big picture, we've got to reinvent ourselves and generate more money. As simple as that.
Guy?
I seem to have messed things up, sorry.
It's okay. Get the mic back here.
Okay, wait. Who's next?
You carry on with that mic. It's you, Guy, yes, it is.
I don't actually use a food bank. I know people who do, and I don't have a problem with food banks. I think they provide very helpful assistance. I don't have a problem with soup kitchens. I don't have a problem with going to the hairdresser and finding that senior citizens get a cheaper haircut. I don't have a problem with pensioners getting free rides on the bus. The fact of the matter is these are all different issues in an island where we have people at the very bottom of the not very well off and people who are extraordinarily wealthy. So the bottom line to responding to your question is we need to, first of all, understand that in a small island, really, we ought to be all in it together. And there's too big a gap between the haves and the have-nots, and we need to find some skillful ways of narrowing that gap, bringing people up from the bottom. I remember a minister from years back going, Social Security is not welfare, it's giving a hand up. Yeah, fine, that's the sort of thing we ought to do. Now, as for what I'm going to do with my children if they want to leave the island, well, look, I spent half my career in London working in international television news. I couldn't have done it here. I had a fantastic time when I was working at Channel Television, don't get me wrong. But I'd be the first person to say, look, There's a big world out there. Go check it out.
Thank you, Dave. I know a lot more about food banks than I'd like to. Many of them are based in my neighbourhood, St Vincent de Paul, and the Salvation Army, who I've worked closely with. We have to be clear that the presence of poverty in a wealthy society like Jersey is a moral outrage, and we should never be shy about making that point. The government's own statistics tell us that the #1 contributory factor for causing islanders to live in relative poverty is the cost of housing, and we know that austerity exacerbates poverty. So those are two things that I'd say to the next government is, one, do not resort to an austerity agenda to seek greater efficiencies in government. It's possible to do that without hurting the poorest and most vulnerable. And secondly, please don't do anything to unravel the progress that we have made in the last few years on renting. We've just reintroduced rent control. About time. It took me many years to get us to a point of introducing that. The next government must not revoke it, because if they do, we know what will happen. Poverty will increase. In terms of enticing younger generations to want to stay in Jersey, I think that's something the next government should consider a priority. Otherwise, we risk having a lost generation that will fundamentally change Jersey. I think there's two things that we're committing to with Reform Jersey. The first is making sure we go ahead with the Fort Regent project. We don't turn it into another hospital debacle, constantly U-turning on it. And I think we should put together a specific package of incentives for young people to either stay in Jersey or come back after their studies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave, thank you very much for the question. I do have some experience of the food banks that we have in Jersey. I've spent a long time working in the voluntary sector, and I have spent time with Vinnie down at the Grace Trust and also been down to the pantry at the Salvation Army to really get under the skin and understand what the issues are. In my civil service days, we were trying to work with them to gather some of the data that's already been mentioned. I also appreciate the work of the charities in this area, particularly Caring Cooks, Brighter Futures. They don't talk about poverty so much as scarcity, and they work very closely to tackle that issue through education with families and practical support. And I think it's important to say that the government has a very important role in supporting all of those charities to do the work that they do. When it comes to Stephen's question, I've brought up 4 boys who've been through school, some through university, and some of them have come back, some of them haven't. I think the very simple answer is you create an island that they want to live in. And that's not just affordable homes or art and culture, sport, good opportunities for jobs outside finance. But government has to step up and show young people that they're actually serious about meeting their needs. Visible shared equity, first-time buyer housing, investment in apprenticeships and further and higher education to create the environment that they can see and know that have a future in.
Thank you. 2 very good questions. I think on food banks, my first question would be to understand much better who is using them. In some cases, are these people who should be entitled to income support and are not claiming it, in which case that needs to be addressed? Or are there gaps in the social security system? To which the answer is, of course there are gaps. There are in any system. But we need to try to identify them and where we can tackle them. On the issue of keeping young people on island or attracting them back, I come back to the dynamic economy point. That is what is going to get people living in Jersey because they can do the sort of job they want to do. We need more higher education on island. We've got a lot more than people know about, including in this building, but not nearly enough. It's not a university of Jersey, it's a university in Jersey. And we need to tackle the high cost of living. We need to make Jersey attractive to having good job opportunities and the ability to live a good life without having to struggle to meet living costs. Thank you.
Hello, Dave. Thank you for the question. I was shocked to hear some of the numbers around food banks. I was shocked to hear that in the last 3 years they've more than doubled in terms of the usage. I was shocked to hear that the Salvation Army is dishing out, or was in 2024, nearly 4,000 packs. What I think we need to do is we need to concentrate on the two areas that are contributing a lot to this, and that is dealing with inflation. The more inflation rises, the more difficult it is for people to afford to live, and the monthly wage packet just doesn't go far enough. And I'm talking about the number of people who are on decent wages who are struggling and using food banks, which I was also shocked to hear about. So an anti-inflationary strategy led by government is important. Government, by the way, growing the size of government contributes to inflation, so we need to get a hold of what government is charging. Charges and fees should be capped. They should be probably looked at below inflation, certainly for a period of time, so the government isn't part of the problem here in fueling it. We shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes with things like the DFDS contract, the flat rate card. What that meant was that supermarkets couldn't get or negotiate decent rates. They're paying more for bringing food in. You and I are paying more, therefore, at the supermarket by an estimated 4 or 5%. That's not helping either. Stuart, Stuart, I need to move on to you because I won't have any time otherwise. The points about inflation are also equally important for young people and everybody else in the island, so that applies to you. But I think more degree courses on island, really crucially important. Is that it? That's it. Sorry, Stephen, I'll talk to you afterwards if you'd like to.
Thank you very much for both questions. I think the first one goes to the heart of how we try to solve problems in Jersey. And it seems to me that, yes, there are questions about the usage, and it's complicated because it's not just about lack of resource. It might be people who are at times of life crisis. But there are a number of questions that we face as a community which I fundamentally think we need to address them in a different way. And that is we need to address them together. Government, as we've heard from other candidates, doesn't have all the answers. But those who are working day to day in the community, in the charitable sector, in those food banks, we've got to find a way of working together with Social Security, with the Housing Department and Andium, and with mental health provision, to work together to solve some of those problems of those individuals and families, because the causes are multiple. No, people aren't listening. That's exactly right. Nobody is listening, and we need to listen to each other and help solve those problems together. Stephen, many candidates have already spoken about making Jersey a more attractive place for young people, and that's through housing, investment, and jobs. There are more opportunities available than we might currently see, but again, we've got to work together to provide them. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Dave. Firstly, before we can tackle issues around poverty, we need to understand what the minimum standard of living should be for people. I believe we should identify that first, work out what everyone should be on, and then we can look at how we support people to be at that reasonable standard of living. And that's not going to be an easy thing, but I know that certainly in the children's cluster, that's a piece of work that's been started since we identified through Statistics Jersey that a quarter of children are living in poverty, which is not acceptable. Just on a side note, Normandy Trader can carry 80 tonnes of cargo, and I worked it out that the island needs about 40 tonnes of fresh fruit, vegetables, etc. to meet our needs. It's just over there, France. Perhaps we should be looking at bringing more stuff from France rather than importing it through the UK. The other thing, young people. I've worked with a lot of young people, and I think what we need to do is diversify the employment opportunities. AI is coming on things and digital stuff, so we've got opportunities there we can lever. We need to improve more sports, leisure facilities, and places for young people just to hang out. And I think really opportunities for secondments to other jurisdictions so they can continue their career, their development, but still have roots back here. Thank you.
Thanks for both questions. I was equally as shocked to hear that stat, and I actually think there are a lot more people in Jersey that, if they had the minerals to come out and use those food banks, they certainly would. So I don't think that's a true stat, and I think it's a real reflection of just where we're at. I think the work that the Salvation Army are doing should be commended. I think as government, elected government should continue to support that. I don't think this problem is going to go away overnight. Sorry, Bernard, I tend to disagree. I really do think a cheaper supermarket provider will help a lot of people. And I'm not saying that it's the only answer here, but we do have to think about quick fixes to make people's lives easier and cheaper now, not in 4 years' time. And a lot of these strategies and politics that people have spoken about in the room are great, but they don't change tomorrow. We need to find something that's going to help people now, not in 4 years' time. Aldi and Lidl are knocking on the door. We've got to reduce planning and let them in. To your question, I have a daughter and a son, a bit younger than you, and it's a concern. You know, at the candidate fair, I had young people writing off Jersey already. They want to go off to uni. They don't even want to come back. For me, on this island, as a young person, you've got to pay to exist. You've got to pay for your child to be a part of a sport or an activity. That is incorrect. And for me, if elected, I will be pushing for free activities. Love the idea of the fort. Don't like the idea that it's going to be an extortionate amount for me to take my kids up there during the day. And if it's raining, I've got nothing to do. It's the same issue over and over again, and we have to address it.
Mary.
Can you hear me? Oh, I'm going to actually do them together, sort of. Firstly, in the last couple of days, I've actually spoken to some young families who are or have been have bought shared equity homes, and they think it was brilliant, because what that means is that means it's been affordable to them. So obviously that is part and parcel of what's helpful to get people back into the island, and I think we should be doing more of that. In relation to people coming back, I mentioned it earlier, I do actually think that we need to be, when students go to the UK, we should be finding out what they're studying, what's their aspirations, what do they want to do when they're finished, because they should be being encouraged to come back here. What do they want to do? What facilities have we got? What can the states do? And we offer internships during the summer, but we should be offering more. We should be actually encouraging people to come and see what they can do with what they're going to study to bring them back. The nighttime economy, we've sort of made it, it's got worse and worse. There's less and less to do. So that's another thing where young people will come back, but there's nowhere for them to go. In relation to food banks, I 110% agree, and that is why I genuinely believe that as an island, we should be looking at how we can produce more ourselves, because it's going to cost less. Yes, it's going to cost less from the point of view there's no transport coming in, we've got no plastics coming in, and so all of that should make it better. I genuinely believe that.
Thank you. If that microphone could be sent back up the line, but you can use this one. Thank you.
Thank you. About 10 days ago, I was in town around Minden Place, and there was 10 people queuing outside the Pantry Salvation Army shop. So I went inside and I said to the couple who run it, they said there's people waiting every time for half an hour or more before we open. So that's a sign of what's actually happening. And they told me that what's happening because of other people's circumstances, they're not getting as many donations. So they did get some publicity, and that did help. But having said that, there's still people using it. And they told me that about £10 a week is what is required, because the stuff that's in the shop, they sell it for about half the price or less. So it generates that. But as we know, there's others like the Grace Trust, the Catholic Church, and Variety Club are doing things as well. So, and they're all doing a good job. But the question is why, and we need to look behind that. Regarding the young people, I have two grandsons, 8 and 12, and I do regularly have conversations with them, listen to what they're saying and trying to give them some guidance, education and career-wise, what they might do. And obviously, that's uncertain at this time, but it's just to try to give them a steer and some guidance with that.
Thank you. You could hang on to that. Okay, we're now going to take two more questions now that everyone has asked the first two. We're going to go to this side of the room. I can't see anyone at the back. So Lisa, as you're at the back, I'll come to the front in a minute, this front section. But can you choose someone at the back, because I can't see. Thank you.
Hi, Simon Duhamel, Lamont Pinel. The published cost of consultants has dropped from 19 million in 2023 to 6 million in 2025. So there isn't much more to save in that area. My question is, do the candidates believe they have the necessary skills, knowledge and experience to take politically decisive decisions without recourse to experts? And how will they deal with decision-making in areas where they have no prior knowledge?
You clear on that? Again, it's the volume. Would you mind just holding that closer to your mouth and just maybe if you could stand up and just say that one more time. Thank you.
Sorry. The published cost of consultants has dropped from 19 million in 2023 to 6 million in 2025. So there isn't much more to save in that area. My question is, do the candidates believe they have the necessary skills, knowledge and experience to take politically decisive decisions without recourse to experts? And how will they deal with decision-making in areas where they have no prior knowledge?
Everyone clear? Thank you. There's a hand up with a white jumper, I think, just here. Lisa, if you could just bring it around this side. Thank you. If you could state, no, behind I think, sorry, I can't see very well. Yes. And if you could state your name, if you'd like to stand up, and where you live. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Evie Griffey. I live on Rue de Ponteron, St Saviour's. I'll be able to vote in 4 years. How do you plan to get the younger generation's attention and get them to vote for you?
Thank you very much for your questions. We are going to start with Martin and then go down the line. Thank you. So, Martin, have you got the microphone?
Do I have the skill? I have the skill set that I come with, and it's transferable skills. But one that might not be necessarily transferable is common sense. We want to manage our society affordably. Common sense tells me if something is unaffordable, you don't go for it. You use your means. We have staffs that we have employed, public service servants. They need to do their job. Why do I have to consult when actually we are having full-time staff members to do their job? So common sense tells me no. Whereas my way of encouraging young people to vote for me, I think I'm going to have one of the highest voting turnout. You don't be surprised, because I am identifying with the young people because I've been working for young people since I was 19. For my manifesto online, I have made it in form of music. So you're going to watch my manifesto presented in a song. That is a skill I will identify with young people, because I know young people will listen to my music that identifies and sends a message to them. On my website, I've done poetry, and I'm soon launching a podcast in the first week of June. Those are the approaches I'm going to use to get young votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Consultants are necessary, but we developed a culture where they were the first call. We have 9,000 public sector staff, and the use of consultants has got out of hand, and that's why we had to reduce it. But we do have a lot of skills in the public sector, but we don't always have all the skills we need, and that's where we get better value by bringing in consultants. But I think it needed more balance. In relation to, I like to think I know a bit about young people, because I used to be one a long time ago, and I still have very fond memories of that time. Getting them to vote for me, well, the first thing is getting them to vote. Just get out to vote. I don't mind who you vote for, but just let's try and get more young people voting so we can make our assembly more representative of our community. I've paid special attention to housing, working with Sam on the First Step scheme, developing the new facilities, new youth club in town, the skate parks and the Fort Regent development, and then working with skills. We just have to give young people confidence that they can buy a home, get a good job, and afford to live a good life here. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, I think the obvious answer is that none of us here have all the skills we need to make every decision that we might be asked to make. So yes, sometimes you do need to go to experts, whether that's accountants, lawyers, IT experts, or just people who have specialist knowledge and specialist skills. And I'm sure we all have to accept that we need advice to make some of the decisions. The decisions rest with us though, and we have to be brave and make the right decisions based on all the information in front of us. We need to be careful how we spend on consultants and make sure that we're doing it wisely and that we're not letting their bills run away from themselves. And as a lawyer, I know how bills run away from themselves can get bigger. Young people, I am at a real disadvantage because I don't have children. I don't have children in my social circles. Those that were there have already left the island to go to university or work or school. And I don't meet very many people, young people in Treasury. I'm certainly not going to go on TikTok because people would just be appalled if they saw me trying to dance on TikTok, although I do think I have also got a few moves. I do hope, like Lyndon, that young people do come out and vote, that they read the materials, and they simply, that if nothing else, they read our manifestos and vote for people that they think will make a difference to them. I certainly aim to try and do that. I have spoken to some young people, but not really enough to turn the tide. Thank you.
Yes, I know from experience that when you get into government, it's a situation of information overload, and consultancy actually in the past has played a huge part in government. Now, the thing is that maybe part of the reduction in fees, consultancy fees, is that we're going into a new era of AI. I'm sure that that's going to be playing a big part, and especially when it comes to access to information. So moving on to engagement with younger people, I'm going to hark back to my social interest project. It's something that I'm going to harp on about for the whole of this election. The thing is that you can actually engage better with younger people. You can understand what they want to do. You can give the structure for them to have a go at things. You can engage with... I don't know why this mic keeps cutting out. Must be some energy that I've got. So, yes, better engagement, empowerment for young people, have a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. We put a lot of energy and structure into you to have a go and keep you engaged.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just very briefly, first of all, in terms of making decisions, hard decisions outside your area of expertise, most people on this stage are expert in the process of making decisions, and it's important we do that. So why is there a need for a tough decision? What systems are not working? What's the lack of capability and capacity? How do we agree the deliverables of that change? What are the timescales for delivery? And how do we track the benefits of the difficult decision we need to make? And that's the process that is actually common to people working at senior levels. I haven't got really a time to talk about all the things we could do to get young people to vote for us or to respect the decisions made of old people. It strikes me there's one thing in particular. We need to create the capacity for young people to leave their parents' home but stay on the island. And we don't have the housing products that encourage that on this island. There is either a big leap into rental or purchase, or a big leap off the island. There are intermediate steps where people can leave the family home and stay on the island, and we don't have those. And I believe that there are solutions to that which have been put in place in other jurisdictions that we are not fully exploiting at the moment for the benefit of younger people.
Thank you. The first questioner asked I think a very direct question of each of us. Do we have the skills, knowledge, and experience to take decisions? Well, I didn't come along to talk about my background, and I'm not going to, but in answer to your question, I would say yes. And I think if that wasn't the case, I really shouldn't be here. Can I take those decisions, the required decisions, without expert experience? I think it would be completely inappropriate to do that. A number of times in the course of my life, I've avoided disasters by seeking expert experience, and I think when you need it, you need it. In terms of getting younger voters to vote, I think what we need to do here is actually come out with a vision of where we should be going, and a vision that involves younger people, and get on and actually demonstrate that we've got something here to offer people.
Thank you. We're going to go to Guy next. Thank you.
Right. I do know a bit about consulting, so let me take you all into what's not very well known. It's a civil servant tactic. It's insurance. It covers them in case something goes wrong. If anything a little tricky rolls up, your chief officer will tell the minister, I think we need to get in a consultant. That's assuming that he doesn't go ahead and do it anyway. Now, I've dealt with, when I was minister, numerous consultants. I can tell you, when we were trying to look at the incinerator on what grate to choose, I was offered a pamphlet with 114 various options. As it happens, yeah, I went through the lot. I wanted the thing called the rolling grate, which I thought was a great idea. It's just like you put the rubbish in, it goes round and round, burns, and stuff doesn't get jammed up. No, the guy who provided it pulled out of the tender. We ended up with another grate. Now, young people, sorry, controversial here. I don't agree with people getting voting rights younger and younger. I'd leave it up at 21 where it used to be, because I'm sorry, I think kids haven't got the life experience. That's it. End of story.
Well, if you want to get young people involved in politics, I think you should respect them and their right to be involved in our politics as a starting point. I think that politicians shouldn't always expect people to come to them to find out about them. We should be going to other people and trying our best to communicate with them. That's why it's really important that politicians go and watch the youth parliament sittings. It's why it's important that we're involved in the youth service facilities in our communities. And I, for one, have tried desperately to reinvent myself on my social media platforms when a new thing comes about, and I am proud to say that I have over 3,000 followers on my TikTok, and I haven't yet had to resort to a dance. So I hope that's a sign that I'm doing something right. To be a decisive politician is much easier when you're surrounded by a team who have got your back and share your agenda, and when you have a comprehensive manifesto filled with the things that you want to get done in office, because a manifesto that fits on a side of A4 is no basis for running an enterprise that spends £1.2 billion a year. I think on my first day as Housing Minister, I probably saved the public tens, if not hundreds of thousands of pounds by bringing my officers into the room and giving them instructions on what our agenda would be for the 2 years, because I'd spent a long time working on it and I knew what it needed to include. And I think one of the reasons we end up spending so much on consultants is because politicians go into roles without actually knowing what they want to do and being too scared to make decisions.
Thank you. See my notes. Thank you for the questions. Yeah, there are, of course, situations where the skill of consultants is necessary and that politicians simply don't have. I can think of several examples of the incinerator, coastal engineering, etc. But it shouldn't be the first port of call. It should be part of a planned strategy. It should be carefully identified where they're necessary. And people should know in advance exactly what they're going to cost, how long they're going to be with you for, and actually exactly what outputs and outcomes you're expecting from them. Having said that, I think we have a lot of untapped talent within the public service. I don't think we are fully aware of the knowledge, skills and experience of some of our civil servants who may be in jobs other than for which they were originally trained. And I would recommend that there is a full audit of those public service skills to make sure that that is exploited. In respect to the plan to get younger generations' attention, I am old now, but I have volunteered for the youth service. I've been a youth leader in the past, and I sit on the committee of 2 youth projects in St Brelard, so I do engage regularly with the young people and listening carefully. I think the Youth Assembly this term has been absolutely brilliant. We've used them as a consultative body for our scrutiny panels. And I think also the candidate fair was a really good opportunity to engage with young people. And of course, we have the youngest candidate ever standing for election in St Brellards.
I better begin with a confession. I've worked as a consultant, including for the government of Jersey. Now, I should add, behind every bad consultant is a very bad client. Bluntly, that's it. Businesses use consultants because they're cheaper to get the right result. But all businesses use consultants. We use consultants in our daily life to do things that we can't do ourselves as efficiently. Now, the government made far too great a use of consultants, as the Chief Minister said. It became the default, and there were some pretty expensive projects done. So we should use consultants where they're cheaper and not use them where they're not. In terms of getting to younger people, one of the older people on this platform, of course it's important, not just in voting, but in engagement generally. Remember, our voter turnout's the lowest in the world. And because of what we've done with automatic registration, the official figure will be even lower in this election. It's very difficult for young people to understand the system. Voting for 3 different types of politician in the same election, being asked to choose between about 13 names. People have voted in the UK today. Generally, they vote for one thing, a lot easier. Our system's complicated. Perhaps we should work on making it a little bit simpler. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think it's important just to focus on the roles, because politicians and in particular ministers are not expected to have all the expertise in all areas. And in fact, the role of a politician, and in particular a minister, is to set strategy, set policy, and civil servants are there to deliver. Civil servants sometimes call upon consultants, quite rightly, where there's specialist areas. It got to an extent where it was far too much in terms of consultants, so you need to make sure that it's only when it's absolutely necessary. But quite frankly, we're paying very, very high prices for civil servants, sometimes hundreds of thousands of pounds. They're on the delivery side. The politician is there to set the strategy and the policy, so it's important to understand the differential. As far as young people and voting is concerned, the political fair was excellent. 12 hours, we were open, and lots of young people came up. These types of events are great for engaging. There's a special hustings for the young students, which again is excellent. The youth assembly's been mentioned. I used to attend that when I was a minister. And I think it's probably worth saying as well that I went into schools also when I was a minister and engaged with some of the young people, and I got asked questions quite often which were more incisive and more challenging than anything I faced at times in the States Assembly. We must do more of that, more engagement in the schools. It's really valuable. Thank you.
I said in my opening address that I think the States is full of really great people, but they need to be empowered to deliver particularly efficiencies and remove bureaucracy. I have always been what I consider to be privileged, to be surrounded by great stuff. I take the view of management that you should always try and surround yourself with people who are more intelligent and better at the job than you are, and you will achieve good things. So I think we need to unlock that and that potential, and that will help us mean that we don't need to use experts quite so much or consultants quite so much. It's empowering the people that are already employed. My daughter is of age now to vote for the first time of that cohort. Of course, they're busy with their exams, those people at that age. But I find speaking to them and asking about the issues that they are concerned about and being authentic. You look at me, I'm never going to be hip and down with the young people, but I can be the person that I am. I can be honest and authentic, and I think that that's what young people are looking for today. I, like many other candidates, were really impressed with those young people that came and questioned me at the candidate fair, and I'd be happy to do more of that. Thank you.
Well, fortunately, I'm at an age where I know what I know and I know what I don't know. So I will always use expertise around me to make decisions. I believe that within our civil servant we have a lot of untapped talent. Beyond that, we have people working in fields across the island, in various industries, who also have expertise who we could utilise better to guide us if we needed guidance. As for young people, I'll be very disappointed if a lot of young people I worked with over the last few years don't come out and vote. They're being prodded continuously to do so. I do say if you want to vote for me, great. If not, then please go and vote for someone else. But that really comes down to engagement with them, talking to them, understanding to them, listening to them. I did have a conversation the other day at the careers fair with a 2-year-old for about 20 minutes. She's promised to vote for me in 14 years' time. I might not be around then, but there we can go. Is that the last bit? Oh, I've got 30 seconds to ramble on. Okay. The other thing, it's gone now. Look, it's flipped. I've lost it. There we are, Serena. You carry on.
Yeah, so look, I'm in agreement. I think we should be using consultants when absolutely necessary. And, you know, I have a skill set of decision-making under pressure, and that's what I intend to bring. It's important that when we are faced in trying to problem solve with these critical issues, that we aren't feeling rushed or panicked, and we have to put agenda and ego down and address the source and the core of the situation. I'm a true believer in that. There's a bit of a culture change that's going to have to adjust, I think, around our decision-making philosophies, the next government, and that's also where I'm hoping to add some value. I think we've got a listening issue, actually, in Jersey. You know, I've sat in front of civil servants, and someone's told me that they've Google mapped all the netball courts, so we're fine. Absolutely. I mean, I was absolutely fuming to have somebody sit in front of me and say this, because I, you know, don't like to blow my own trumpet off them, but I do know a thing or two about netball. And I do think other people across Jersey share the same frustration with me, where we feel not listened to, not understood, and that has to change. We have so much talent, potential people who deeply care here. Why aren't we turning to leaders in charitable sectors and education to solve our issues? It's here. We've got to unravel it. You are incredibly brave, young lady, and thank you so much for stepping forward. I think a really positive thing we could do is actually introduce, you know, election, the way how to vote and things like that into schools to make it less scary for people like yourself. But I commend you, and you're the highlight for me so far in this whole campaign.
Thank you. Mary?
Right. I've forgotten one of the questions now. Okay. That's it. Decisions without experts. That's what happens when you're sort of somewhere down at the end of the line. A lot of people have got a lot of skills, and I think we need to ensure that when you're a states member that you're always looking to see whether you've actually got people in your department already who have got those skills, rather than automatically going out and getting them from somewhere else. We also need to take responsibility for the decisions we make. And so therefore, if we decide that actually we're not going to get an expert in a particular field, we need to take responsibility, because that's why people put us in these positions. So we do need to keep on the track of trying not to use and pay for extra experts when we don't need them, but only when we definitely do. In relation to young people, I have a young daughter, and she was really annoyed at the last election, even though she couldn't vote for me because it was the wrong district. Her birthday was the 23rd of June, and it was the 22nd was voting day. But I've inbred it into her, as my parents inbred it into me, about the fact that we all should vote and why. And I think it is about listening to young people, because the one thing she said to me was, not all young people want the same thing. It's exactly the same as all the old people. We all want different things. So it's important for us all to actually listen to what people want.
Thank you. If you could send that microphone back up, please, that would be great. Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. That's one of the reasons why I got this information together. It's really concerning that, you know, 32.5 million in 2023 was paid to management consultancy services. It suggests to me that some people don't know what they're doing. They couldn't tie their own shoelaces, so really that is a problem. So we need to get together political and with the people who work for us to reduce and get rid of most of that. And that is, take it home and have a good read of that. Regarding the younger generation, I can say My daughter, since she's been 5-year-old, has been political because she's grown up with me and she's grown up with politics and she's encouraged her mates, including Tracy Valois, who made her first speech at the town hall when Len Norman was president of housing, and she gave him a right roasting, and she took the senatorial poll not long after that. My daughter's still got a rosette that says vote for my dad, so I'll tell her to be getting it out and get moving and get her mates to vote for me. Thank you.
Previous governments spent tens and tens of millions on consultants. In the last 2 years, the government I've served in has cut that dramatically, but we still do need some. I can make decisions about farming and fishing because of my experience in those businesses, but I can't be a hydrogeologist or a chemical expert when it comes to solving crises about PFAS or things like that. So we will always need some consultants. When it gets to encouraging youngsters to vote for me, I do know that when you ask them in a poll what they value most about their island, that the environment always comes pretty much at the top of the list. So I would say to them, I'm a politician that will protect the beaches that you play on, you swim in, you surf in, the countryside that you enjoy riding your bikes, running around. But what I would also do is to say I would ask them what they want to do and encourage them to follow their dreams, because doing a job you enjoy, a job that you want to do, makes life so much more interesting. Getting up in the morning and looking forward to the day is important. You don't need to be an accountant or a lawyer. You can be a plumber, a carpenter. You can come up here and be part of the green skills that we're starting to work on now to encourage youngsters into new industries, because we will diversify the economy and we'll need people to do those new jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have that microphone? That's everyone, isn't it? Yeah? Wonderful. Okay, everyone, can you believe it? That brings us to a close. It is 3 minutes to 9 o'clock. So unfortunately, we're not going to get to any more questions. But if you want to ask anything of the candidates, you can do so by, well, catching up with them when they're out and about, but of course you can email them as well, and all of their details are on the vote.je website. I've been asked just to mention a couple of things before you leave tonight. Postal votes need to be received by the Judicial Greffe by 12 noon on Sunday the 7th of June. Don't forget, you can vote early. So if you're going on holiday and you're not here on the 7th of June for the election, please head to St Paul's Centre in St Helier between the 26th of May and the 1st of June. Polling stations on the 7th are open from 8 until 8. Please do remember to take photo ID with you. That's really important. Any information that you need is at vote.je. So from all of us here, a huge thank you. It's a Friday evening, like the candidates said. We're very grateful for your time. Thank you. It's been fantastic to see such great engagement. And I think there's one final word. Is that right?
Yes, there's one final word on behalf of all of us, the 17 candidates. We want to say thank you all for coming, and may you have a very good night.
Thank you.